Okay, I think it's working now. Okay. Have a little problem getting this set up so that it records properly. Welcome to the weekly Shir de Zera Shimshon. Okay, it's Parshas Noach. Sorry, last week was a little difficult. We had a lot of things going on and I couldn't record. So here we are, starting the new year, Tav Shin Pei Vav, with Parshas Noach. Anyway, why the generation of the flood was punished? V'yomer Elokim l'Noach kates kol basar bo lefanai. He said, Hashem said to Noach, the end of all flesh has come before me. Ki mala haaretz chomos. I guess we all know those words today. Mipneihem v'hinini mashchisam es haaretz. For the earth is filled with robbery. Okay, Hamas is literally robbery. Through them, and behold, I am about to destroy them from the earth. Yeah, we'll see. And there's more deep depth to this than just reads on the face of it. So the Maseches Sanhedrin in 108a points out that the decree of destruction was signed and sealed only because the generation of the flood stole from one another. Now, okay, Chazal used the word nechtam, which is sealed, in connection with the decree that the world would be destroyed because of theft. But we know that they were being punished for immorality. And specifically immorality of homosexuality and other bestiality and other crimes that that disgust most people, but they were involved in that. Yep, and that's what it was closed for. But we know that, yeah. What's more, the Torah itself seems to imply that the main problem with the generation of the flood was immorality, not theft. And he's being very generous to say immorality. It sounds like just, immoral acts between men and women, but that's not what was going on. Okay. The Gemara in Brachos, it's in page 32a, discusses the pasuk in Devorim that refers to Di Zahav, which seems to be in a place name, but which is interpreted as Di Zahav, enough gold. What had to do with gold here? Moshe Rabbeinu is having a conversation with Hashem. Ribono shel olam, he says, the reason the Yidden made the egel was because of the incredible quantity of gold they received from you. It was so much that they said enough. Di means die. Sufficient. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani says in the name of Rabbi Yonason, how do you know that Hashem agreed with Moshe? Because it says, and they accumulated silver and gold, and they made the Baal. That's a pasuk in Hosea. So when Hashem judged the generation of the flood for their abominable and immoral behavior, he knew, that they could theoretically argue that they were compelled to sin by the incredible abundance of good in their lives. As the Gemara says, they had so much good, and Hashem even gave them a taste of the world to come. That's the Gemara in Sanhedrin 38. Things were so out of control that even the angels who were banished from heaven and sent to earth as a punishment for the bad behavior ended up sinning. And if that was the case, what could Hashem possibly expect from regular people? This brings us back to the matter of their stealing. Although the people of the flood may have been able to argue their way out of being punished for their immoral behavior, there was no way for them to argue their way out of being punished for theft. They were asking for a reprieve, reclaiming that was too hard to live a moral life when surrounded by such abundance of luxury. If that was the case, how could they possibly justify stealing? After all, they were all so wealthy. What do they need to steal for? If you're poor, memela, you'll need to steal to keep alive. But you can't have it both ways. Either steal because you need money, or live immorally because you have too much money, but not both. I mean, that's not a guarantee. Having extra money doesn't force you, quote unquote, to live immorally. It's just that people of that kind of wealth do live immorally. That's the facts. The fact that they stole, despite the being so wealthy, proved that the reason they were stealing was not because they were lacking anything, but because they wanted to anger the Ribbono Shel Olam, which was why they deserved to be punished. This was what Chazal meant when they said that their sentence was sealed because of the stealing. While it was true that their main transgression and subsequent punishment had to do with their immoral behavior, it was the stealing that stripped them of any sort of defense for their sins. So says the Zera Shimshon in our Parsha Ois Dalet. Now, I once heard from Rabbi Kessin, quite a few years ago, that when there were a lot of earthquakes on the west coast of the United States, and he quoted a Zohar HaKodesh that when men act immorally with men, then it shakes up the whole foundation of the earth. Shaking is earthquakes. Did you know how many earthquakes there have been in the last 6 months? I'll say. I'll let you do the research. And they call it the Ring of Fire has erupted in the Polynesian area, the whole Pacific area. There are more earthquakes than there ever were before. And I'm almost positive that there's some immoral behavior going on over there. Yep. So let's hope that it doesn't strike too close, but we want it to be sufficient that that the people awaken from their stupidity. That's all I can say. Okay, let's go on and Bez Hashem have a wonderful Shabbos Parshas Noach. And the waters of Noach is called Mei Noach. It's a pasuk. So he was blamed for having not rebuked the generation the way he should have. Okay, it's a tragedy. That's all. But it did regenerate the whole world. Baruch Hashem. Kol Tov Zay Gebench Good Shabbos.